All right, well, welcome. This is going to be the first in what I hope to be a series of workout offerings for you. People have been asking me for a long, long time, what do your workouts consist of? What do you do? And there's a lot to it. And what I want to start by saying is I'm going to be 55 in just a couple of months. And in many, many ways, I am stronger and more fit now than I've been ever. And I've been working out pretty consistently since I was 15. I've been doing martial arts since I was 8, but actual working out I've been doing since I was 15. And my approach to working out has changed dramatically in the past couple of years, and the results have been spectacular. And that's all due to this gentleman who's sitting to my right. This is Jonathan Bolding. I call him the Wizard of Bods. The guy is absolutely amazing. So I think what we're going to do is start off with some very basic exercises that will be challenging for some of you, not so challenging for others. But these are core exercises that are designed to keep you biomechanically fit and aligned, but they also support our particular To-Shin movement very well. John, do you have anything you want to tell these folks before we?
I think a lot of the things that we address, Mr. Russo also had an extensive background, so as far as the knowledge base we were dealing with was already very extensive. What I did is we went in and we just rearranged it. We didn't really change that much. It was just putting different exercises in different orders to maximize the benefits of it. You can have a rehabilitation. When I say people are in rehab, they think that you're laying on the bench just doing this. Well, no, we can still get this great workout. We can still have body composition change. We can still get stronger. We can by correcting our alignment, and that's the stuff that you felt personally.
Right.
So the first thing we're going to look at is just your hips. That's the number one problem with hips, because we don't move anymore. This is what we do. This is our life now. No one stands up. No one. Who do you know that's a manual labor?
We do that. We do this.
Yes. This is our manual labor now, guys.
Yeah.
So we're going to show you how to reactivate our hips and how important your hips are to your movement and everything, and especially those of you who practice To-Shin.
Yeah. Great. So I just want to talk about that for just a second. We work on what I call a certain platform of movement, and that platform of movement keeps our hips underneath us. And there are a lot of other sports. My teacher, Stephen Hayes, calls this the universal action pose, where your rear end is out and your head is forward. So you see this in almost every sport. So you can imagine baseball and football and basketball. We want to actually do the opposite of that. We want to keep our hips underneath us. So the thing I like to say is in a confrontation, so if we're looking at a self-defense situation, somehow we're hardwired or we're programmed to protect our rears. It's not a good strategy. Now I'm throwing the computer into the danger, but protecting my rear end. So just from a practical sense, we want to do that. But from a movement and effectiveness point of view or perspective, we want to learn to keep those hips underneath us. And a lot of us, for various reasons, have gotten to where this pelvic girdle is tipped backward, which then has a negative chain reaction effect throughout the body. So that's where we're going to start. As John said, we're going to start in the hip area.
Okay, the first thing we're going to look at is a very common core exercise. And my definition of core does not mean abs. The abdominals have nothing to do with the true core region. We're going to look at the lumbopelvic hip complex and how that stabilizes your hip line. So the first thing Helen's going to do, she's going to take her shoulders, and it's called depression, but we're going to take our shoulders and try to tuck them in our back pockets. So I don't want you up in your neck. That's a common complaint you hear about planks. It hurts my neck or it hurts my shoulders. So she's going to take her shoulder blades and pull them downward. Now internally, you always hear clench your abs. Clench your abs, activate your core. It's a very difficult thing to do if you don't know what muscles you're truly trying to activate. Most people just crunch their abs down and it gives you this rounded posture. What we want you to do, let's try to internally clench. You need to use the restroom and you are trying to stop the flow of urine. It's the easiest way to describe it. So give me that clench there. Then what Helen's going to do, she's going to activate her glutes. In a relaxed state, before you come off the ground, I want you to squeeze both glutes together. That's perfect. And then you want to keep your hip your knee, and your toes in a line. Her heels aren't together. Another common. Straight up and down, shoulders down, clench, glutes, lift yourself straight off the ground. It should be a straight line from here. If you notice there's no arch or rounding in Helen's back, her glutes are remaining squeezed while we're doing it. Her shoulder line, she's not up in her neck. Good posture, her feet are internally rotating or externally rotating. This is about as good as we want. Back down. Another thing that people do, what she should do instead as you begin these, because you will find this much more difficult than the way Helen just made it look. What you're going to do is you're going to squeeze before you come up, activate your glutes, then come up, hold a perfect plank. Let's start off with just 5 seconds. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Now bring it back down to the ground. Big mistake most people do. I'm holding planks for 30 seconds. If you can hold a plank for 30 seconds while keeping your glutes squeezed, please continue. I think if you'll be honest with yourself that you will allow these glutes to let go, and then you're going to hear, planks hurt my back. They really won't if you do it this way. Helen, let's go again. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Back down. And you want to activate the glutes before you come up once again. Squeeze, now come up. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Back down. Helen, I actually want you to bring this up, keep your clench, and then let your glutes go. I want them to see what it looks like when you do let it go. Go ahead, activate, come up. 1, 2, let it go. Did you see how her body dropped and the pressure went to her lower spine here? Activate your glutes more. Now you're in a more rigid position. 4, 5, back down. This is what you're looking for. This is a properly executed plank. Thank you, Helen.
Good. And John, how many reps should somebody do?
Initially, you want to start off with, let's go 10 to 15 reps, but only the 5-second hold would be your maximum. I actually begin my clients off on the 3-second hold. Helen's a little bit more advanced, so we did 5 to show.
Okay, great.
Now we're going to look at what happens with dysfunction in the same exercise that we showed you earlier. What we discussed earlier, Mark referenced it about everyone being in, it's called an anterior pelvic tilt, where you're tilted forward. It creates lower back dysfunction, but it also affects our hip line and how we're able to activate. So Mark, I want you to do the same thing. I want you to start here. I want you to bring your shoulders down like you're tucking them in your pocket. Give me that good internal clench like we discussed before. Squeeze your glutes, toes in line with your knees in line with your hips, and now lift yourself off the ground. Now if you'll notice, when Mark came off the ground, his glutes, they're no longer contracted. Go ahead and bring it back down. Let's go again. Shoulders, core, clench, really hold that glute squeeze, big squeeze, now come up. Now once again, we got a slight, his contraction let go when he came up. Go ahead and put it back down. Now what we're going to do, how I want you to judge this, is that if you make a bicep, I want everyone right now, make a bicep, show off your muscle, as tight as you can. Now I want you to also flex your tricep at the same time. It's impossible. It's the same thing that's happening with Mark's hip line. His hip flexor in the front is so tight that this is flexed, this can't squeeze on the back side. If this is flexed, this can't squeeze on the back side. So what we're going to do, Mark is going to do a hip flexor stretch for you real quick. He's going to come up. He's going to bring his right leg forward. Now it's very important on your toe alignment that your toe is pointed forward and that your toe is pointed forward here. If your foot's in or out, it will affect your stretch. Now Mark is going to go here, lift straight up with his right arm or left arm, same size as side stretching. He's going to slightly sink forward until he feels a nice stretch here. Once you find the stretch, hold for 30 seconds. Now while Mark is holding that, let me explain what we're doing this. I'm sure you've heard the philosophy that stretching the muscle, it weakens the muscle. To effect that's right. You are lengthening the muscle. And when a contraction, that's shortening the muscle, so you are making the muscle weak. What's happening though, if the muscle is overactive, we need to make that muscle a little less active or weak so that we can activate the opposing side. Once again, this is so tight here that it's making this weak. Mark, you have 2 seconds left, and switch sides. So what Mark is doing, while he's stretching this, is he's stretching his hip flexor so that way we're able to activate this glute in a second. So that will be the opposing. Most people will only stretch, but the opposing side will still be weak even though the muscle that you have stretched the flexibility is greater, we need to activate the opposing side. Just because we relax this side is still too loose, so we have to bring it back to center. 15 seconds. Now, if you'll notice, Mark is not doing anything dynamic. He's not bouncing into it. He's not rocking. He's not reaching over. He's found his position. He's very stable with his spine, and he's getting full extension through his hip. See how his hip is open? That's what you're wanting to do. And back down. Now is the activation portion of it. Mark, I'd like for you to lay on your back, put your hips right here on the end. Okay. Now, we want you to bend your knees. This is the position. Make sure that your toe is in line with your knee in line with the bony part of your hip that's right there on your hip line. I want you to bring one knee up, hold this position, and you're going to activate this hip flexion. This foot is going to go heel only. Mark is going to head back, drive through his hip line and his heel, and activate his glute. The reason why we have this leg up is that if you don't, if it's just relaxed, go ahead, Mark, shoot it up, all the way up. See how he's arching his back? That's dysfunction. You're only trading one dysfunction for another. This way, it forces you to keep a neutral spine as you go up. Perfect. 5-week side, please. Now, even at his peak, if you'll notice, his back, his hip to his shoulder is a perfect line. And for this angle, you can see this line. When it comes up, his shoulder all the way down to his kneecap is a straight line. It's not above, there's no arch in his back. Now, Mark, what I want you to do is I want you to turn over. Let's go prone again. Prone just means that your chest is facing the ground. Let's go through our techniques again. Shoulders down. Give me a good clench. Good. Toes in line. Go ahead and come up. Let's hold for 5 seconds. See the difference in the glute activation? 2, 3, 4, 5. Back down.
Yeah, that's a big difference.
And again. 1, 2, straight line. Perfect. 5. Back down. This is a technique that will help you if you have difficulty holding your glutes during a plank. This should
have John explain exactly why this glute activation is so important to one of our fundamental techniques. So when we work on this cross strike, where I'm hitting with my body rather than just reaching out and hitting with my limb. So I'm maintaining a stable base. So in our martial art, we move differently. So rather than cover distance by reaching out with a limb, I tend to cover distance by moving my legs. So when I hit, I'm hitting with my whole body. So John has some information about why this is actually a more complex movement than what it might appear.
During this motion, if you'll notice, Mark has a rotation of the trunk, but during his motion, he's also working his knee where his knee is coming forward. So that's 2 different planes of motion at one time. The first, the knee going forward, is very common in weightlifting. This is called a sagittal plane. Think 90% of your weightlifting is sagittal. It's this, you're cut down the middle. Now where Mark, and why this is such a difficult move, is you have to be able to stabilize this in a sagittal plane, which is very difficult in itself. Mark adds a different element to where he is rotating as he's stabilizing here. So if those of you who do practice To-Shin, if this move is difficult for you, you probably felt like you didn't have balance on your front foot, or that you probably heard Master Russo cue you as far as like bring your hips forward, bring your hips forward. I know he's done it to me. So when you do this, it is the rotation stabilization through here. Mark has a great posture here, but what you should take notice of is, can I actually get you to turn towards the camera?
Sure.
As he rocks forward, look at the position of his knee in line with right on the 2nd and 3rd toe. This is the alignment that you're looking for. Most of you will probably begin this as this. So by doing this, this means the internal rotation here means we have a weak part of our gluteus complex. More medius, more on the side, but still our glutes. And that's something we can also address through our core training.
Yeah, so in this movement, again, everything we do, so if we're moving around doing throws, every technique we do, we try to keep that base underneath us as opposed to what Anshu Stephen Hayes calls the universal action pose. Okay? And why is this universal action pose? That is based on what I call conventional speed and strength. So conventional speed and strength, we're going to do more what we call natural strength. And one of the foundational concepts to natural strength and power is using the force of gravity. I'm going to connect to the force of gravity rather than try to defy the force of gravity. So all of this comes back to reconditioning this whole hip line area and your glutes. Okay, we're going to take a look at another simple exercise that'll help us correct this hip migration problem, and this is going to involve a very simple piece of equipment that's very inexpensive.
It's the dreaded rubber band. All of my clients know these. All of my clients truly dislike them. I wouldn't say hate. Probably some of my clients would. What we're going to do is I want to have Mark step in here, and we're going to put this band slightly above his knee. Now, he's going to get in a good squat stance. What I mean by good squat stance, his feet are not externally rotated. You'll see they're straight forward. Second and third toe is dead center in line with his patella. Patella is lined with the bony part of his hip, his ASIS. Now what Mark's going to do, Mark is going to internally rotate one knee all the way in and then externally rotate. This is adduction. When he brings his knee in, adduction, he's adding his knees together. Abduction, he's opening them up. This is activating both abduction on the outside and its internal rotator stretch here, but more importantly, it's strengthening the muscles that allow the knee to stay in line during motion. So go ahead and let's do 5 on that side. Another thing, see how Mark's foot is staying flat in contact with the ground. Make sure that you do this. This is not what I'm looking for. Now 5 on this side.
And most of us will find there's a difference between one side and the other. So that right side's way easier for me than the left side. I've had extensive knee surgery. That's probably got something to do with that for me. But it is normal to find that one side is very different from the other.
Now let's do 10 together. And even though Mark is working his lumbopelvic hip complex, we're going to go ahead and add the stability aspect here by doing that good internal clench. Once again, we're going to stop the flow of urine while we're doing this. That way you're teaching your body while you do these kind of motions that this is always going to be turned on. You don't have to think about it. This is just how your body will move.
Yeah, so what that doesn't look like is this. Same thing we've been talking about. I stick my rear end out. My chest is bending way over here. This has all been let go. And now I could feel like this is a whole lot easier. But if I get the glutes underneath me, pelvic girdle lined up, all of this clenched as John's talking about, it's a completely different exercise.
And here's a dirty little secret. This is just a bonus. Since he's firing 3 muscle groups together, as opposed to just one, he's also burning more calories. So you get to burn a little more calories while you're doing it.
Yeah, at my age, that makes a difference because I like to eat.
This will be one of the first areas that most people will fail out. They will mess up with their feet. They'll start collapsing it. Mark's doing a great job of keeping everything in alignment and opening up.
Great,
Good.
Cool. And these are totally inexpensive. So you can get them online? Or,
$3.
Yeah, $3 online. All right, we're going to finish today with moving now from the pelvic girdle and pelvic area to upper body because, again, most of us are suffering from a common biomechanical misalignment, which has to do with our shoulders rolling forward. And again, this can trigger over time a whole chain reaction of negative effects in the body and all the systems of the body. So I'm going to let John talk about that.
What Mark and I first worked with when we worked with him is that the number one complaint that most guys have, or the number one thing that they want, is a big chest and big arms. Mark told me that he was unable to build a chest. Well, Mark also came into me with this upper protraction distortion syndrome, where these shoulders were rolled forward. He had worked so hard, it kind of speaks to how hard a worker he is, that his chest had pulled forward. Well, no matter how far forward you go, your muscles cannot grow in a state where they're an adhesive state, where they're locked together. So Mark just kept making his muscles shorter, shorter, and shorter. All that work, my chest is disappearing as I talk to you. So what we did is we unlocked this and we started pulling this back. Two things will happen. Look at my range of motion with my shoulders forward. That's it. Now as I bring my shoulders back, now it's here. Try it. Try it at home. Please roll your shoulders forward and see how high, and try as hard as you can. You can't even lift them above your head. Now, just simply tuck your shoulders in your back pocket again, stand upright, and now lift your arms up.
Wow, that's pretty incredible. Yeah, and my wife Helen and I too, we work on our own girls this way. But you know, the world is going to respond to you based on the way you appear to a large degree, whether that's fair or not. And the world will interpret you very, very differently if you walk around like this as opposed to this. Now, we're not suggesting this either. We're not suggesting that. We're suggesting a natural biomechanical alignment, what is good for the body, what we would call good posture. Helen tells me when they were young, at finishing schools, they'd have you walk around with a book on your head and all kinds of things like that. And the objective was the same, to lift from right here in a very natural way. Again, for our martial art, we tend to move this way with these back. We move differently from most other martial arts. If you look at modern day, they're actually doing something like this. Okay, so again, it's healthier, and it also supports our particular martial art to get this fixed. So we're going to have John talk to us about how we do that.
The first thing that we're going to look at, whenever this shoulder does come forward like this, it's not, I always hear this, oh, I'm glad you showed me that, I'll just do this. Well, the problem is you're trading one dysfunction for the other. If this is shortened, you have things pulling you out of alignment. Just because you think like, oh, I'm going to pull it back, it doesn't change your structures. So what we're going to address is the actual muscle tissue. First thing we're going to do is we're going to do a chest stretch. Now, on the chest stretch, I see a lot of chest stretches done, and we're going to show you how to do the right way that's beneficial and it's not going to hurt you. Now, where we have this chest stretch, and the one I like to utilize, Mark is against, this can be anything. This can be a door jamb. This can be the corner of a wall. You will get a little dirt on the wall, so please don't make it a white wall. I've ruined a wall in my house doing that. You want to make sure that this arm is parallel to the ground as you perform your stretch. Right now, Mark's parallel, but if Mark were to sink downward, you see how this goes upward. So we're going to drop this down a little bit. Mark is going to keep his toe in line with his knee in line with his hip again. You're going to hear me say that a lot. His back leg is actually going to turn. Now, I'm glad Mark has his back foot out. Look at his hip line since his back foot's turned out. Now watch his shoulder and his hip line alter by rotating this foot inward. Now look at the position. His chest is square, his hip line is square, and now he sinks forward. Everything stays in alignment. Very common for that back foot to turn on. Make sure you do keep that back foot. Now, since I've been talking, we'll be going about 15 seconds. You want a 30 to 45-second stretch on both sides. You have about 10 more seconds, and I want you to switch. This is very good with his head. Let's go ahead and switch, Mark. Excellent time for you to view the posterior of this stretch. You'll notice his hip line is in alignment. That foot is slightly turned out, and it's altering his hip. So we're going to have Mark once again scoot this foot over to my hand. There you go. And keep the foot straight. Now sink. Look at the alignment difference that made throughout his body.
And I'm actually feeling a little bit of a stretch in here on that.
That's the bonus of this. You do get a little bit of a hip flexor stretch. And how Mark can increase that for those of you that feel comfortable with this stretch and truly feel comfortable with it. He can activate this glute a little bit, give me a squeeze, and that should increase the hip flexor stretch on the front side.
Yeah.
Good.
Okay, the next exercise we're going to look at, I think it's a magic exercise. I call it a magic exercise because it was probably the most instrumental thing in getting me to open up here. And if you just do it a couple of times, you'll notice a difference right away.
Now, these are called several different things. We're going to make it very easy. We're going to make our body into letters. So the first thing we're going to do a Y is the first thing. So when I have Mark get his toes in line with his knees in line with his hips again, and he's going to bend at the hip, not at the back, but just sink down and bend at the hips. So go ahead and let his arms just hang and bring it up into a Y position. Now, what you want to focus on as you bring this up, you want to focus on your shoulder blades. Go ahead and let your arms back down again. You want to pull back your shoulder blades as you lift up. Very fluid motion. Now, Mark, I want you to do one with your neck. See how the head pulls forward, the arms, the range of motion isn't great. Remember what we did earlier about our positioning. Go ahead and relax again.
Very uncomfortable.
Let's not do that one again.
Yeah.
Now, shoulders down, nice and fluid. That's perfect. You want to do about 10 of those. This first motion, we're making a Y with our body. 5 more, please. Very good job. Now the next thing we're going to do, we're going to create a T with our body. Fingertip to fingertip should be a straight line. So Mark's going to get the same position again. Head's going to be nice and neutral. Bring it back down. Now, Mark does a really good job with this, so he makes it look a little easier than it is. The big thing is when you pull down is to let your arms go down there. You can do this, you can do more weight. The trick is when you bring your arms back is to keep them level and not to come up. That is perfect. You see no arching in his back. Everything remains neutral. He's only working the rhomboids, mid and lower trap. Perfect. Now, the next one we're going to do, Mark, you can go ahead and stand up a little bit. I know that stance gets a little tired. Next thing I want you to do, we're going to create an A with our body. So Mark's going to get our stance again. Settle in, arms are going to be hanging down your sides. And we're going to take our hands will be facing each other. As we pull back with our shoulder blades, our hands will rotate outward. Now think about this, why we're rotating outward. Look at the shoulder. Now, let's rotate them inward. This is what we're trying to prevent. We're trying to pull this shoulder back and create this. We're really opening up that chest line. You should feel it right below your shoulder blades. Want to relax? Now, this part of the motion is not the difficult part of the motion. The difficult part of the motion is getting our shoulder blades back and still keeping our core activated. Very common mistake, one that I personally make a lot, is that when I come back, I'll arch my back and release my abs. You'll feel an immediate tension. Mark, go ahead and give me a bad one. It doesn't even look like the same exercise. It's
Yeah,
going to
I
hit
feel
your
it
lower
right
back.
there immediately. Yep.
Perfect. 5. Okay, let's go ahead and stand up, Mark. The last thing that we are going to address today will be our W's. So they're not really a W, but it just kind of keeps with the theme of naming everything by letters. You're going to start with your arms at 90-degree angles, close them up, and then open it up again in our stance. So Mark, if you would. Good posture there. Good 90-degree angles right here, and keep your 90-degree angles. Close them together, open them up. You got it. That's perfect. Not here. Do not drop your elbows down. If you drop the elbows down, it activates the lat. We are not wanting that. We want rhomboid, mid and lower trap. Good. And if you will notice, even on this side, Mark's arm drops a touch when he comes all the way back. It's because we didn't properly stretch out before we did this.
Now, we at one time, John, did something that looked like this.
External rotation.
Yeah, is that something we want to add in here, or is that later?
It is something we will add, but it's a different issue. Good. This sounds simple because it is. That doesn't mean that it's not effective. Do this, I promise you, you may still have to get your shoulder surgery, but you could put it off for quite a while if you'll do this. And if you don't have shoulder problems, you're not going to get shoulder problems.
Yeah, and you'll notice right away. That's why I call it a magic exercise. As soon as you come out of a set of those, you can't help but stand this way with your chest open. It actually feels uncomfortable for a while to do this. Now, if this is your norm, most people have heard me talk about homeostasis before. Homeostasis is the proclivity for any system to go back to the norm or stasis. So if I've been this way for a long time, a couple of weeks of this isn't going to get that fixed. But a few months, make this your habit, and then eventually this will get to where it doesn't feel right at all. This will be uncomfortable for you to do. And it's well worth it. It just feels very different moving around as a human being. It just feels a whole lot better. That's our first round. We're going to float this out on the various vehicles to get it out to you. We'll see what kind of response we get. If we get enough response and people are interested, then John and I will shoot a whole bunch more of these, and we'll get much more advanced, and pretty quickly we'll start showing you some things that will challenge even the most fit of you out there. Hope you enjoyed it. Thanks for joining us.